How are you doing with talking, Leslie? Is it too much or
No, it's good. I'm all right. Thank
okay.
you.
Okay. I say I can kind of do stuff if I can kind of talk more if you need, but if not, I'll let you take over.
Well, either or. I put a suggested agenda together. I didn't know if anyone else has anything they want to add or change or remove.
Yeah, I really like this agenda and definitely have stuff to like. I think these are all really good talking points that I definitely have stuff to contribute to.
Awesome. Okay.
But I think it's a good idea just to like, yeah, just start introducing all of ourselves. Wait, you go by Catherine? Okay. So like Catherine is new. So I'll just start. I'm Morgan, grew up in Waldoboro. I live down um been in conservation kind of my whole life. I work for Midcoast Conservancy as a Medomic stewardship manager. And so I manage a bunch of these lands and already work in partnership with the town of Waldoboro on a lot of this stuff. Um, Yeah, and then I joined the Conservation Commission probably like right after Leslie left. And then they were like, "Oh, well, there is no more conservation." They like admitted me and then they were like or like voted me in and then they're like there's no more conservation committee. I was like, "Okay." Um so yeah, I wear many many hats as we all do.
As you are wearing one now.
That's right. One of my many many hats.
I don't know
Um,
why you haven't introduced Kraken yet.
Oh,
well,
thank
Kraken's
you.
not.
I always feel like he's like looking around as to who's calling him. He's so confused.
Hi, Kraken.
He's like, what? Yeah, I always feel like Kraken needs no introduction. But Kraken the Border Collie, he pretty much runs Waldoboro and tags along on all of my trail work, education outreach, water quality work. He's there. He helps out on all of it. So he's good dog.
I really think he's become the mascot of Waldoboro. Like
He it
if
was
I don't see Kraken around, I'm like, what is going on? The
I
world
know
is
whenever
turmoil.
if people see me and Kraken's not around, they just ask me where he is. They never get like, oh, how's Morgan? How are you? It's just like, where's Kraken? And when I was collecting signatures on voting day, oh my God, it was insane. Like some of the state people who don't know the town, like, so they weren't from around here, they were like, does everyone in this town know this dog? Because everyone was like, Kraken, Kraken, Kraken. I was like, yes,
Yeah,
they do.
pretty much.
All right. Um, Max?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Max. I'm the planner over here in Waldoboro. Um,
Our hero.
yeah, sure. Um, I usually help with grants and going to the committee meetings to help with just saying, hey, is it all right if the town does this and that? And then I usually deal with those phone calls the next day. Um, and I was here when the first Conservation Commission was here. Uh, and when it then disbanded, to which that I was the one who kind of I think I'm the one who gave you that awkward
Yeah.
words. But even when that was done, just been working with Leslie, the mountain bike folks, Midcoast Conservancy on some of the trails that have been going up at Quarry Hill. Also some of the stuff going on in Sylvania with their trails. Usually when someone approaches me and says, hey, I have a project idea and we need money, I'll say, all right, let's see what I can do. And then I'm also here for my winning personality. I think
Max,
that
we are very fortunate to have you as our planner.
Thank you, Leslie. Well, and Leslie, what about you? Why don't you share your thoughts as you are hiding behind the screen? And we have the agenda up, so even if you turn on the video, we wouldn't see you.
Okay, that's good. I didn't want to, but I was willing to if you wanted to look at my
Your
face.
chipmunk cheeks.
I mean, yeah. I want to say I probably unloaded everything on you when I met you at the Waldo Theater, Catherine. But hello, my name's Leslie Lorenzen. I was on the Conservation Commission until January 23, and then I left and I've rejoined. Bob Butler reached out and asked me and Will to rejoin, so there could be a commission for you to join. So here we are. My reason, my why is when I first joined was for the Waldoboro Town Forest. I walk it a lot, and there was a lot of fallen trees, and I couldn't figure out who maintained it. And after doing some outreach, I figured it out and then got more involved because an invasive species came into the woods. And I thought I was going to be chair, like cleaning up litter, and I ended up having to help lead the invasive species project. So that was a lot coming into my first term as chair. And like Max said, I'm also on the board of directors for Midcoast New England Mountain Bike Association. So I wear a few hats too, and I'm working with Midcoast, Morgan and Isabel and Max in the town to put multi-use trails up at Quarry Hill. And that's been going well. I feel like everything there is on timeline. So when I stepped down, I did reach out to the town and said, like, I still want to volunteer in conservation efforts. And that's how I stayed involved with Quarry Hill and whatever else Max really reaches out and asks me to take a look at for conservation stuff. I'm always happy to. So that is sort of the high level overview of me.
Well, thank you,
And what about
everybody,
you?
for
Yeah, the big,
introducing. So I'm Catherine. I obviously just joined the Conservation Commission. And I work at Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens, as you both just found out. And I am on their committee for invasive non-native species. And we just kind of help monitor the land that we're on. We're on 300 acres. And we come up with management plans and recommendations for the IPM manager. And yeah, so I guess I would say I specialize in native plants and ecological horticulture, and just generally love being outside and walking the trails. And I love Maine's natural communities. And so, I thought, I wonder if the town I live in has a conservation commission, and they did. So I decided
Nice.
to join so I could just keep spreading out and, doing what I love. So
definitely. How long have you been in Waldeboro?
not long, since June, May.
Oh,
June.
whoa.
Yeah,
How
so
long have you
before
been
that I
at
was in
the-
Bath,
Oh, okay. How long have you been at the Botanical Gardens?
a year and a half.
Okay. So you just moved. Nice. What brought you to Waldeboro?
I have a couple friends who live here, and
wow.
they live on the other side of what, oh no,
220
one
South.
lives on this side and then the other one lives off of Back Cove Road.
Oh, that's
Um,
near where I live. Oh,
yeah.
nice.
And so I knew Waldeboro, and I, go over my friend's house a lot, and then
Yeah.
there was just an affordable apartment here. And I was like,
Whoa,
okay, that
awesome.
sounds great.
Can't
So,
beat that.
and it's a great little town. I love it. So,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and Leslie and Will are also grew up here in Waldeboro.
Yes, born and raised Waldeborians. And my professional life is in healthcare and public health. So I love to like sort of bring that lens to the table and find the ways to like be respectful of conservation efforts and also helping the public health world. All the things.
Yeah. And Leslie's also a big mountain biker, so she's out in the woods a lot in that way too.
Oh yeah.
And she has a very cute rough collie named Lemon.
Oh,
And you have a
Thank
puppy
you,
named
Morgan.
Moose?
Moose, yes,
Oh.
a giant puppy.
Oh.
Cute.
Is this like the unofficial requirement to be on the conservation? I'm not a voting member. Obviously, it doesn't apply to me. But does every conservation commission member have to have like a dog and
Yeah.
love mountain biking or something?
Yeah,
Is
you
that
need to have a
Yes.
trail
private requirements?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Voting.
You definitely have to get a mountain bike to ride the new trails in Waldeboro. I hear they're pretty awesome.
Hell yeah. I just wrote
I'll
you
tell
guys
you
a letter
little
of
bit about
support. Oh.
I'll tell you a little bit about Will. William is what I call him. So it's weird to call him Will, but Will he's the assistant director of the public works for Waldeboro. So he's a great go-to guy when we need some help. I always call Public Works the true conservationists of Waldeboro. They have been so amazing in all of our projects and ideas and support. That we're like, hey, let's put a little pocket park here and we need a picnic table. And they like cleared it and built us a picnic table and made it happen. And like they're always thinking of us and reaching out. So I just immensely appreciate the whole crew over there. And he was on the select board prior to that. So I don't know, how long is that term, Max? How long was he on there?
Oh, it's a 3-year term. So he was elected in 2020, if I think.
Yeah,
So-
it would have been 3 years because he didn't re-up. So he was on the select
Yeah.
board for 3 years. And on the Shellfish Committee for a long time. I cannot speak to how long. He just recently left that one and joined the Conservation Commission because I'm his sister and asked him to. So here we all are, and he is sad he couldn't be here. He said he had training that came up for work, and he was in Portland all day and didn't think he was going to be able to make it in time. So I think we have a really great, diverse team, and I'm excited about what we'll be able to do for Waldoboro in 2025.
Woo!
So I put down like 2025 goals. I had shared with Catherine a bunch of our every document I could find of our older minutes, like any information I had about the Waldoboro Town Forest, anything I could get my hands on, basically. But I thought maybe it would be helpful to discuss some areas of focus for the upcoming year and talk about like what initiatives or projects people want to prioritize, like what sparks joy, what brings you to the table, and what do you want to hone in on. And then I did put in the email the list of things that I knew that have been priorities for the Conservation Commission and things that maybe were like on the horizon. So I don't know if anyone wants to kick this off.
Well, my goal for 2025 is usually the same. It's still trying to do something going on in Quarry Hill. I think it all kind of started with the blueberry fields. Originally the town had an agreement to lease them out for commercial harvest.
Mm.
Then we decided not to do that anymore. That was I think 2020 as well. And so what we've started doing every year or so is getting the fire department to do a control burn at them so that the blueberries are a lot more better at their growth. And we did it again this year. But we've also, as I mentioned earlier, worked with the mountain bikes and conservancy to get 2 new trails up there. And it would be nice to have more work next year. I'm hoping that we'll get some folks who are interested in studying the farm that's at the site because it was tested positive for PFAS
Oh,
recently.
yep.
I'm hoping we'll get some folks to look at that so that they can study it, see some ways to address PFAS. But also just other work that we kind of had a separate meeting outside of this before the meet with Isabel from the Conservancy as well, and then
Midcoast
Andy
Trails.
and John and Andy from Midcoast Trails about starting to look at ecological assessment of the whole site. And
Ooh, that's actually maybe something I can talk to you about now.
oh,
You guys can cross some things
well,
off my other to-do
that
list.
was all right. Well, that was my to-do for 2025. Work on some of those projects. Quarry Hill's usually my bigger focus, which I guess will translate to or transition over to Morgan.
Well, I guess for that, and so just for context, do you know where Quarry Hill is?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So Quarry Hill is this huge parcel of land, several hundred acres, owned by the town of Waldoboro. Midcoast Conservancy holds an easement on it. The plan for this property was always for it to be some sort of community, and Leslie also, and Max, correct me if I'm like wrong on any of this. The plan was always for it to be some sort of like town community, like recreational center with like walking trails or this or that. And then MTS, so Midcoast Trail Stewards, which Leslie's also a part of, and then McNIMBA, the Midcoast New England Mountain Bike Association, kind of with them. Wanted to put in trails with that. Since Midcoast Conservancy holds the easement, there's some like easement stipulations. And do you know about easements, conservation easements? Okay. So an easement, the land stays in private hands, but whoever the easement holder is, so for us, that's Midcoast Conservancy, we own the developmental rights. And so like when you put an easement on your land, you sign over some of the rights to your land, but that helps protect the land. So like some of your developmental rights and all of this. And there are legal documents, legally binding, they're recorded in the record books, and everything like that. There is some ambiguous language on to whether mountain bikes were allowed or not, and there is some concerns via our lands committee, Midcoast Conservancy's lands committee, as to whether mountain bikes are sustainable and all of this stuff, and if it's going to degrade the land and the ecological communities and blah, blah, blah. So in order to do our due diligence, and make sure that the trails are being ecologically sound and sustainable and all of that, we need to hire an ecological surveyor, which Isabel and I found one, which I had sent you. Were you on that email thread? And it costs money. And maybe since this is also kind of your area of interest, like this guy is down, his name is Mark. It's down in he lives down in Bremen. And I can send you the proposal when I have my computer too. So it costs money to do this. And his quote was, do you remember what it was, guys? It was like 3,000 or 6,000. Now I'm like,
I think it was in the threes.
okay, so it's $3,000. And I guess like, so ideally we would find a free person to do it. Maybe this is within your, but it also has to do with soil samples. So we're looking
Yeah.
for sensitive ecological communities, sensitive plants, and what the soils are there. And do you know about like the main conserved lands layer soils and like list soil layer on like the mapping stuff? Do you
I
ever
think-
use that?
I don't use it, but I am aware of it just from like
Okay.
landscape design.
Yeah.
Design perspective.
Yeah, so we have that, but that's just kind of like a satellite computer
Yeah.
kind of model, and we need more like ground truth and narrow scope. So I didn't know like Leslie and Max, and obviously this might involve Andy too from MTS. But if you guys thought that was something you could like Midcoast Conservancy definitely cannot fund it, but if you guys could fund it, or if you had a free person to do.
And I spoke with the University of Maine. They certainly could do it. It's
Oh.
just, it would have to be, next year's curriculum. So starting September of 25.
Oh, we're trying to get it done next summer because this is already pushing back the trail work a year, which is okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay. And there's a lot of other community building and stuff and awareness and publicity we can do in the meantime. So there's still stuff that can happen. But yeah.
I guess so. I would love to know more.
Yeah, I wish I
about-
had like maps
I
and like a
Yes.
computer and like actual stuff for
Yeah.
you.
Because there are things that I could definitely do, and then I didn't like. On a side note, my husband is in conservation and does like floristic inventories
Oh,
and stuff
Is
like.
he MCHT?
He works at the gardens actually.
Oh,
but he works
okay.
a lot with Midcoast. I don't
Okay.
know if you'd know him, but his name's Brett,
Okay.
and he worked a lot with Chris Shorn. He was
Oh,
with Midcoast.
okay. Yeah.
And so Brett had already told me that he said he would be happy to do floristic inventories and things of that nature for the commission
Oh.
if we wanted it. So that is just like one small piece of the puzzle. If I had more information on what exactly you need, I could look at it with Brett and see if we could do that. Or
Yeah.
if he would be able to do it.
If you wanna, so another thing, sorry, I'm like all over the place.
It's okay.
What? Yeah, go ahead with your.
Well, my question is like, because there's so many different hats and this and that, like, what is the, like, do we have to always like meet here and it has to be publicly recorded, or like, what can we do?
That would probably fall under the last category for meeting frequency and how we want to do this type of format and all that.
Okay, but what's like if I just met with Catherine and talked about Corey Hill and maps,
Oh yeah,
like,
that's
fine.
that's fine. At the next meeting, you just say, "Oh yeah, we've talked about this." That's kind of like what I just did with
Okay.
the meeting that you, Leslie, and I kind of had.
Okay.
Like that was before the Conservation Commission started, but we're still just telling people publicly, "Yeah, we had this quick little meeting."
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that is appropriate. I think we'll have to navigate voting as it comes, voting on things, because I think if it's voting for Midcoast or voting for NEMBA or Midcoast, like we have to decide who should abstain as appropriate or things like that. But I think we can navigate that as those things come up.
Okay.
I do want to say I haven't reviewed the whole email chain about Corey Hill. I'm apprehensive to say trail building is on hold for a whole year.
Yeah.
Because there was agreement with the lands committee about another trail that we hadn't, like the direction of a
Cool,
trail.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I don't want to say that quite yet, but
cool.
I haven't reached out to everybody and talked about sort of what all the pieces and components. McNemba has a board meeting next month, and I was also going to bring to the table the ecological cost proposal and see if they were interested in contributing anything. So I don't have much more on Corey Hill right at this time, but yeah,
Do-
I think it's going well.
So just very quickly, I know we are already getting into the Corey Hill topic. I didn't know if we wanted to continue with the agenda where like we each give our goals of 2025, or if we want to,
Oh, sorry.
or I'm only just
No,
that-
keep us on track, Jack. Someone's got to keep me on track.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I will say there's a lot of other properties in Waldeboro need as much attention as Corey Hill gets from, like all these other organizations right now. So it'd be great to hear, everyone else's goals and interests as well.
So Morgan, what goals did you have for 2025?
Corey Hill.
Corey.
Yeah, I don't know, just seeing like what we can do and where we can go, and like how Midcoast Conservancy / me as a Morgan, which I don't really know if those are two separate people, but like how we can plug in and help and assist. And there's so much overlap with like the pocket parks and like the Gould's Trail we own. Midcoast Conservancy owns the land that the Gould Trail goes to, or goes through. I forget if it's the entrance or the later half anyways. So yeah, just
Yeah.
so many different overlaps. And just seeing like, yeah, I guess my goal is like seeing the overlaps and seeing like how we can come together to be stronger, or like separate to like reduce the burden on some people.
I thought that Midcoast didn't end up buying that property that connected to Gold Trail.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, yes, the answer is yes. Unless you're talking about a different parcel.
The one next to 80 Gray, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's good.
Yeah, I wish I had like maps and like, yeah, I'll come better
I
prepared
got the
next
maps.
time.
I got the maps in the back. What are your goals for
My
2025?
goals from from being, in the conservation, for this being the first meeting, and then all of my.
Yeah, you've
my
been on for
grandiose
30 minutes.
goals. Yeah. Well, I'll say, I guess one of my goals is to get to know the Conservation Commission better, just as an entity, and then as all of you individual people. That'd be great. And then also, I guess, I feel like there's a lot of collaboration that will need to happen, and I'd love to like help facilitate that, or the Conservation Commission as a whole help to facilitate decisions that are made with the in regards to the planning board, any decisions that they have to make that we could help in any way. The Sylvania committee, I think I saw a poster that was like, we want to hear from you. We want to do this, and
Yeah.
we want to do that. And I thought, oh, as the Conservation Commission, it might be valuable for us to,
Right.
see how we can be of help during that process of figuring out what to do with
Yeah.
Sylvania. And yeah, I guess other just helping in collaboration with other committees that may need our help or assistance, like the Shellfish Commission as well, and who's
Yeah.
doing like town cleanups and whatnot. So, and then one last thing in collaboration, I guess, the town in any way, like doing just being of any help with like what Will does with Public Works, if we could ever do something so that it would make their jobs easier.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't know, like if you all are doing this already, or I plan to do it, so
Yeah.
this is
Like-
kind of just like my.
Yeah. So like me working for Midcoast Conservancy, I've been working with the Sylvania Project, helping put in like design a trail system that's like, there really shouldn't be a trail there is the real thing, but they want a trail. So putting it as the most ecologically sound trail that can be put there, while trying to advocate for the land and the river and the wildlife habitat and the soils that are there right now. But definitely can use help in advocating for that, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want to see some invasive plants, Sylvania and Quarry Hill. A lot.
Yeah.
So for background, the Conservation Commission was initially involved with Sylvania. I went and did the first walk of the potential trail. Or Max, you were with me. Max and I did the first walk, potential trail,
yeah.
and determining what was going to go on, and that has sort of fallen to the wayside. So certainly welcome you with like the energy and time if you have that to collaborate and kind of work with them. I think that would be great. I mean, I think when you're in a volunteer world or in a nonprofit world, nothing really happens without collaboration. Like it's all about partnerships and working together for the greater good or for common goals. So I think that's great. I agree with you. I would love to see some more communication and connections with the committees of Waldoboro. I had a big list there. So you all saw sort of what's on my mind for the Conservation Commission. And also want to say that I hope that we will stay realistic for 2025. In the past, the lists have been long and unrealistic, and it almost makes it like paralyzing to want to do anything as a volunteer because you're like, where do I even start? So I think like setting ourselves up for success in what we can accomplish in a year, and even if we're making a year, 3, 5-year plan, I think that's great. Continuing to better Waldoboro Town Forest, it's come a long way and it still has a long way to go. The HWA, it's under control, but that's not to say that could change. So we need to keep eyes on that. And then, the trail itself needs a lot of work. And I really personally think it should be rerouted off personal property. And I think all the trails, I mean, just overall, like the parks and the trails and the properties that we are tasked with keeping an eye on, they just need some TLC. Like I used to go around and just clean up litter on the weekends or little things here and there. Catherine, with your knowledge of invasives, just popping out on a trail and doing some cleanup. I think that stuff is more important than us sitting in a meeting room talking about it. And that's, why we kind of moved to quarterly. So we had more time to be like on the ground, and that can mean on a trail, but that can also mean at another committee meeting or working with the town. It's, I think, across the board. I also have to go back, way back and say that I don't think I gave Will enough credit when I was introducing him. I was like, he joined because I asked him to. William is very passionate about conservation work, and I think even more so passionate about his town and the betterment of it. So he really does care, and I think he's sort of game and supportive of whatever direction we want to move into 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really excited by all like the ingredients here with like all the people and our skill sets and like what we have to offer. Like this is awesome. Like this is just really, really great. Cool.
Do you have any questions since you're coming in new and
What must this be like?
especially since like we have all this background for what's going on, and that's how we came up with our goals. But I don't know if there's anything specific you're curious about. Like we asked about the voting and meeting policy and everything, but do you have any questions beyond that, or just town properties you want to? Because we got fit like 10 minutes before the rest of Leslie's agenda continues there. Oh, and there's her goals too.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I guess, well, I don't want to throw us too off, Mr. Kraken.
We got 10 minutes.
He starts wagging his tail. So I guess, I would like to know or like have more of a, week or month in the life of somebody who's on the Conservation Commission, what you are tasked to do, how you would enact your goals, what kind of practices are accepted or not accepted. Like when we talk about invasive species, are we going and cutting them down, digging them out? Are we, spot applying pesticides? What is kind of the
Yeah.
and is there documentation for all of this as well? That's another, I would love to know how you're documenting occurrences of, invasive plants or pests, pathogens. If you do keep floristic inventories, wetland you know, I guess, what's the word for that? Natural resource
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
inventories and whatnot, if that exists.
Are we allowed, do we have to meet here in this?
No.
So I'm wondering if we could meet at the Midcoast Conservancy office sometime, because I have beginning with habitat maps, I have soil maps, I have inventory maps, I have trail maps, yeah, like I have a lot of these resources. So these things exist mostly
Mhm.
with Midcoast Conservancy.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking, Catherine, there might be some overlap or interest on your end to look at some of the committees that Midcoast Conservancy has. Because some of that certainly, as you're saying it, I was like, oh, Midcoast probably has more of a hand on that stuff. I think I shared it with you. I created like a stewardship form, and
Oh.
originally the members were each tasked, or they took on 1 or 2 properties, and we did monthly
cool.
updates with each other following the form, which included like invasive species, like does this trail need work?
Ah.
I can dig it back up and resend it to everybody, and we can certainly tweak it. It was just a starting point.
That's really
and then it was
awesome,
also,
Leslie.
yeah, thanks. And it was just to make sure that also all the properties had somebody from the Conservation Commission, like keeping an eye on them, divide and conquer, if you will. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
Do you know if those like got filled out and filed away somewhere?
Yeah, they were filled out. Well, you can look back on notes, and then I'll see if I can dig up the hard copies of them. Some
Okay.
people kept theirs in hand, but for a while,
Yeah.
because we had there's invasives on Gould Trail too that one of our members did a lot of work on. And that's what I wanted to say. When you talk about cutting or digging invasives, that's a yes. Talking about pesticide or any kind of chemical treatment, that's something that I personally feel would be decided by the whole committee, just being mindful of whatever soils, or, especially in the town forest with the ancient trees, I feel very protective of that space. But yes, I think, does that help answer kind of some of what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, Catherine and Leslie too. Like I would love to just go. We can, and Max, obviously you're invited.
Thank
To go on we can just go on a field trip of these places just so that you can like see them. And Leslie and I have a lot of connection history with a lot of these places. And just get our perspectives. And obviously you so I have a fish and water background. I'm very slowly learning my plant stuff. And yeah, just get your perspective on stuff. I think it'd be really fun to set up a little walk and talk
Yeah.
and just get you like, yeah. And also it's more fun to just, yeah, like Leslie said, be outside walking around.
And the only other thing I just add on to what Leslie was saying with decisions going on, usually it would just be nice if I'm just updated on it, just so I can then have that filed away somewhere in the town office. Like,
Yeah.
and I also think we haven't really done a good job on record keeping, at least I haven't. So like all this stuff on the hemlock woolly adelgids that Leslie was talking about, we actually know where all that stuff was going. So, I can that can be mapped, and we can have evidence so that if more pop up somewhere else, we have something to talk about. Same thing with invasive plants. We know where it is. It's just not mapped. So, but yeah, if pesticides or anything like that happens, I usually should probably run that by Julie.
Yeah, anything. I think like the digging or trimming or maintenance of trails, that's just like a quick email to everybody, like, hey, we're gonna be at the town forest, there's some trees down, we're gonna take care of it. I mean, that's what we used to do, and I'm completely fine with that. I mean, I trust all of you as professionals to know how to responsibly take care of the trails. And I hope you trust me with the same. And then, when it came to pesticides, like especially because we did injections on the town for the trees, we did bring that to a vote before we went forward with it. So yeah, and Max is great about, especially too in the select board meetings. He is often the person that provides the updates if one of us doesn't go down in person and say hello to the select board and give our update.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like with the town forest and where that's at with the invasives, there's been a lot of aggressive treatment up by the road. Like so up, do you know where the Waldeboro Town Forest is?
Yes.
Okay. Up by the road. And then Midcoast Conservancy and the town of Waldeboro partnered on some grant applications to get the TS beetle. Yeah. And so when we went, the really awesome thing is like most of the adelgid has been like pretty much not totally eradicated, but heavily knocked back up by Route 1, which is so awesome because if you went back there 3 years ago, every leaf you turned over was just white. But now it's not, which is really cool. But further back in the forest, like the adelgid population is pretty strong. So yeah, just kind of where we considered concentrated our efforts at work, which is just, as you know, with invasives, like having a success story is really nice.
Yeah, the decision was when we decided to do tree injections with what we had for a budget and what we could afford was to prioritize the most dire and oldest trees, which is mostly up by, the entrance of the trail. And you'll see the pink flags by any of the trees are the trees that were injected. And it's been going well. There's been 3 rounds of beetles. So the first round was in 2021, right, Max, where the Maine Forest Service gave us beetles and they came down because they were going to try to do a beetle nursery there. I don't know how successful that's been. And then the second round.
And then the second round, we got the additional funding from the Friendship Street School sale, which
Right.
got a lot more beetles. And I think there's still some funding left in that, actually.
Yeah. And we did do
And-
some beetle release from that at Quarry Hill too, right?
Yep. There was like 1 or 2 containers left that there was a tree that we found. I think
I didn't go with you because I
No.
was busy with oh my gosh, what's her name? Blanking on it.
okay.
Then to the state entomologist.
Oh my goodness. Why am I blanking on it
I
too
can
now? that
picture
you
her
said-
face perfectly.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. We're all blanking on her.
I can see it too.
Was that in 2022 or 2023?
I think 22 is when we did the experimental release. 23, I think
That's when we did the big one with
that's
me.
when we did the big one with
Yeah.
the Friendship Street School, and then Midcoast did the one this year, didn't they?
Yeah,
Or was that at
yeah.
Quarry Hill?
No. We did the one this year
Okay.
at the town forest.
Okay. Yeah, we've had almost
Yeah.
an annual release of beetles at this
Yeah.
point.
An abundance of beetle puns.
Never have too many.
And now, are we focusing on any other invasives that have been prevalent in the area?
I think
Um,
that one was just the most well-known.
Yeah.
And the most like concerning because of the old growth trees. And it's really easy to write grants when you're like, old growth hemlocks are in danger. They're like, here's all the money. If you're just like, oh, there's a patch of multiflora, like then it's just there.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah.
I can tell you that near Quarry Hill, technically it's on MC property, but there's a bunch of Norway maple that hopefully is on our list, but definitely could use the town
Yeah.
help on that.
And so like beach leaf disease is like
Do
pretty
you-
bad.
But do you know of a solution?
There are a couple.
Oh,
that-
really?
So I think
With the nematode?
yes, so they have trialed, and I can't remember the name of it because I'm terrible at remembering names of pesticides, but it's an injection. And it's
Oh,
supposed to be a 2-year treatment plan that they found is successful. And this was through like a very popular, whichever like arborist company does that research. Do you know who I'm talking about? K-Fight maybe is the name of it, K-Fight. There's a fertilizer soil drench that you can do around beech trees that doesn't treat the nematode, but it prevents the nematode from getting worse.
Hmm.
And that's just a fertilizer.
whoa,
doesn't
I thought
impact
there
the
was like
soil, it
no
does, but-
hope for them.
No, they're finding that there is successful 2-year
Whoa.
treatments with this injection that I cannot remember the
Whoa.
name of.
Yeah,
the
every
name,
beach,
but-
all the beech trees are like, I have not seen a healthy beech tree in years. They're
Yeah.
all like very much, huh? That's good to know.
I can.
Yeah,
I'll email
that's-
you guys that information.
Yeah, it would be great to know the name of it, the estimated cost of what an injection would be,
Oh,
how
it's
prevalent like
It's
the
really-
beech trees are on the properties that we're tasked to maintain.
Yeah. No, the one property I can think of is Midcoast, but it's not, I don't think it's Waldeboro town property. The Riverbrook,
Oh yeah, that's Waldeboro. There's beach there.
lots of it, yeah. And Hemlock, right?
Yeah, lots of hemlock. Yeah.
The Riverbrook Preserve is Midcoast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Clary Hills, which is really easy to confuse with Quarry Hill. Clary Hill has some actual bigger beech trees that are all diseased. Not, and it's also that part's in Union, so, but
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say that it is 10 till.
okay.
So at least we should probably determine what we want to do for meeting times and frequencies. It was a quarterly meeting before Conservation Commission sort of disbanded. And that was from some time constraints and scheduling restraints. And you've seen how lovely it is to get one meeting down.
Right.
Usually it's better if I can try and get a meeting scheduled at least a month or so in advance, just so it's on there and people can't kick us out.
Right.
Budget seasons where I can't save anyone.
Right. I mean, I am like absolutely swamped and completely at capacity, probably over capacity if I'm being honest. So quarterly meetings work great for me, like just making sure that we're touching base and in communication, which I mean, we have been.
Yeah.
So and I would love to like have you be in the loop on all of that too. So like that format's kind of already been working. Anyone else's thoughts?
I mean, I think there could be like a monthly email check-in,
Mhm.
just. Yeah, and that would be a record thing that we'd hold on to, but
Yep.
we do the monthly check-in and then once every quarter we'd have an in-person meeting that could be here, could be an outdoor adventure,
Yeah.
whatever y'all decide. How does that
Leslie, are
sound?
you with us?
Yeah, I was waiting for Kath. I wanted to hear what Catherine
Oh,
had to say
sorry.
before I added my 2 cents.
Well, I don't want to be a total pain. Because I just feel I'm very new to it, and I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
I need like if the wheel slowly turns, I'm worried that I'll like never get the hang of it.
Right,
So
right, for
like more
sure.
contact with you all would be obviously be preferred by me.
For sure.
So, but if that means we all have to get together all the time, and like find room in our busy schedules, I know that's really hard to do. So I know that there's a compromise there. We can, meet or have little one-off meetings and have little, goals that we can, set for ourselves so that we can all kind of have things ready to go and, we can all be on the same page for our meetings and they'll go a little bit faster. Cause even this meeting right now, I found that there is like, plenty to do, like,
Mhm.
there's a lot on our to-do list
Oh, yeah.
already. So just like, to help facilitate like me being able to be helpful and to be present for you all on a quarterly basis, that I guess we should workshop like how I can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as
But-
far as like next steps where, this wouldn't be a quarterly meeting, like I would love to sit down with you, honestly, within the next like week or two and like go talk about Quarry Hill and show you the maps. And see if you or your partner would be interested in helping out on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, so all of these things on my list, I deal with at least once a week. Like at least one of these things is I'm dealing with once a week. So I don't have time to like have a meeting, but like happy to collaborate and like set up and be in communication. Yeah, like I am insanely busy.
Well, at least for the next meeting because next month is December.
Right.
I doubt we'll do too much. Should we plan for at least maybe January? I know that's not quarterly at this point, but that at least gets us a fresh start for the
Yeah,
new
yeah.
year, get into the hang of things, and
For sure.
then February and March will probably be booked up anyways with budget meetings.
Okay.
So we might do a field trip at that time. So, but January, might be good to do that at that point. What do you think, Leslie?
Yeah, so I have a couple things. I completely hear you, Catherine, and I do want to just acknowledge that when I came back onto the Conservation Commission, it was known that I would be really tied down until the end of this year because of my school commitments. And so me being kind of quiet on email is I can't help that right now, but know that I have better communication starting January 1st. And so that might help you maybe feel a little more relieved because I know that you email and you nudge us and you're like, hello, but I just don't have the capacity through these next 2 months to do much more than what I'm already doing. And then same for the quarterly meetings. It moved to quarterly again, like Max said, because of scheduling conflicts. But that was a big part of Will and I coming back was like, we don't want to go back to meeting monthly. It was just, I just felt like we were constantly spinning our wheels and not getting things done at the properties. But I'm one voice and there's more than just me. So we can definitely keep this conversation going. And what was I going to say? And like Morgan is saying, like catching us, I still haven't gone out and marked the Quarry Hill Trail. And so when I do, I'll definitely shoot you an email if you want to join, like we can be better about filling you in that way. And I also want to say and remind everyone that it's more than Quarry Hill. We have multiple properties
right.
and we need eyes on all of them. And there are very good eyes on Quarry Hill right now. Not to say that like we need help with the ecological stuff and that would be great. But like the Waldoboro Town Forest really needs help again, and the parks and the Dutch Neck Marine Park. And so like what I would love to see is all of us taking on, if we're going to do monthly check-ins, like going back to everyone being tasked to like provide an update with some properties. So we all have eyes on what's going on and how we can support each other and the trails and parks. I don't know how anyone's feeling about that, but that's what I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, I really like that. What if so is Wednesday at 6 a good time?
I should be fine.
Like maybe
Yes.
January 15th?
That works.
Leslie, would that work for you?
I'm going to tell you right now, it's William's daughter's birthday. So I don't
Okay.
think you'll get
I do
him
not
that
that
day,
one.
but January 8th, January 22nd.
I could do probably January 22nd.
Yeah, both of those days should be fine.
That's
Yeah.
so far out. I'm free.
Okay. And I wonder if that meeting we should put on the agenda to talk about like who will look over which park and like get those stewardship forums set up and kind of do that, Leslie. Does that sound like a good?
Yeah, we can do that. I don't even mind starting that conversation in email. Just
Okay.
getting some feelers out, and we can fully list out the properties that Conservation Commission is responsible for, which I think I included them all in the email, but we can revisit that and I'll find the form so we can just start feeling it out and maybe just firm it up in person, if that sounds good to everyone.
Yeah. Is
And
there a map with like the shape files of all of those parcels and parks? Do you know?
Shapefile, probably not.
Okay. Or is there a map with them? Maybe.
I think I have like, I could get a Word document that just has a table saying them.
So maybe for my to-do list, like between now and January, I probably won't be able to get this done because I have a million other things that I'm supposed to be doing. But maybe like January 15th or something, I don't know. To just make an actual map. I don't know, I'm such a map person and a visual person that like actually has all of these, just for your context too, of able to like visually picture them. I mean, I stare at maps of Waldoboro all day. That's like,
yeah, I can
Maybe
mind
like-
dump to what I know in an email and anything I've got. I'm like such an advocate of being like, we have to have a form, like at work. I'm like, we have to have a forum. Things can't be in people's heads. That's not helpful.
Yeah.
And now here I'm like, this is all in my head, guys. I can tell you. Like, but I also just want to say, Catherine, like, thank you for bearing with us and getting this back up off the ground. I know we've sort of been slow to react and totally appreciate and love like the energy and enthusiasm and knowledge you're bringing to this. And I feel confident that we're going to do some great things in 2025.
yeah.
I'm excited. And it's a volunteer position. I get that. Like we're all volunteering our very precious time. We're all like young people with families and things to do and lots and lots and lots of work. So I understand that fully. And so no need to apologize about, school or just not being slow with email. Like that's not a thing. That's totally fine. So you know, I'm excited to, you know, get to work in 2025 and to get to know you all better. And, yeah,
Yeah.
and thank you for having me. I'm, you know, really
Definitely.
excited to.
Cool. Before, well, I don't know if we need to do this with Zoom, but before we leave, do you want to set up a time for you can come to the Waldorf office and look at maps and maybe,
Yes.
perfect, perfect.
To Midcoast Waldeboro office.
Sorry, yes, the Midcoast Waldorf office. I know, my God. These are all the things in my brain. It's like, which is which?
But yes, I am busy on Thursdays, but I can come by after work pretty much any other day.
Right.
Or
Well,
depending on what you do.
while you two think of
Okay.
that, is there any other conservation commission stuff we gotta get? Because Leslie there has a long ride to get home.
Right?
You did ask, if education or outreach would be important to the committee. I don't
Mhm.
know if we wanted to talk about that, if that was something that you all wanted to prioritize next year.
Yeah, I'll say
Always
that.
happy to connect people.
I'll say that we tried to do some events. We did like a blueberry event. We did participate in the cleanups. We bought coffee for one of the cleanups, and we tried to like tag on to some collaborations just because of capacity. And it was a lot trying to plan public events and trying to like take care of the properties. And that's not to say we shouldn't revisit it, because I think it would be great to do like a spring walk and get people to know the Waldeboro Town Forest and maybe what, you know, ephemerals are there and things like that. I think it was always my dream when we started that we could do more of that, because we want to build the future generation of conservationists, you know? So love to continue that conversation if there's interest.
Yeah.
And I think it would also be beneficial on education for what people can do on their private properties. When there
Mhm.
was the few citizens who said, oh, the town needs to do something on brown tail moth invasiveness. That was a ad hoc committee that I think lasted for 2 meetings, because it was like the town should be doing something, but we don't want to be doing anything while we're complaining about it. And I think even when talking with the forester that we still don't know the name of, one of the things she brought up
Colleen.
was Colleen.
Colleen, thank you.
To me.
Like Colleen Tierling or something.
Yes, Colleen Tierling.
I remember the last name. I can't remember the first name. Her bit was, you're doing all this great work to get Quarry Hills front all addressed, but literally here's all of this property that's still being condemned to Delgid
Yeah.
hell. Anyway, this person could get some work done.
Right.
And I think a lot of people just aren't aware of, you know, does it have it? I'm not an expert, but maybe some people just need to be told that it's not a matter of like having this huge expense like the injections that we did, but just the awareness so they can try and nip it in the bud before it spreads.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is all good info. I feel like we can talk about this in the January meeting, because like that's the perfect time to figure out what we want to prioritize during the summer when we're all busy and running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
Definitely.
What, you don't want to do any trail walking in January?
You know, what's funny is in my job, it's the flip for me, and summer is when I'm not so busy. I'm out on my mountain bike almost every day after work, but I have a lot of time. So you'll probably be hearing from me more frequently then. But yeah, I think that there's some great opportunity to cross promote. Like the Maine State Forest Service has awesome flyers on Woolly Delgid, and we could be posting them on our socials, and we don't. You know, I think, yeah. Anyway, we should be talking about that in January. I don't want to carry it over because one of us does have a long drive, but it is not me.
Poor Max.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Max. So are we uncomfortable adjourning?
Adjourned.
Adjourned. All righty.
Thanks, Max, for staying late for the meeting. Appreciate it.